members of Metric Mind for having me tonight for our almost like a weekly CME, back to basic. So I believe this session is very important, because all that you know until you are a specialist or consultant, basic, you cannot leave your basic, So I want to welcome all the participants for today's CME, and also, all those in Facebook. Welcome to the session. Tonight, I will share a very important topic. Very important topic. This is what you're going to have if you go back to, let's say, your housemanship. Let's say for medical students, this is what you have to know. It's what you have to know. I will share some common fractures that are commonly missed during housemanship, and even for some medical officers also, they may miss this fracture. Okay, they may miss this fracture. So I hope all of you can pay your attention, and let us learn along the way. Okay. Before I start, currently I'm working in Hospital Kemaman. I'm a head of department there. Alhamdulillah, for the past 3 months. Before I was in Temeloh in Temeloh for almost 10 years. So Alhamdulillah, this my slide here today is I just want to share this the slide when I was in Bosnia about 2 or 3 years ago, before we have a COVID pandemic. So I hope let us all pray so that this pandemic will go away. We can overcome this pandemic and we can go back to our normal life. Inshallah. Okay. So this is the outline of my presentation. Okay. First of all, the part I divided into 2 parts. Part 1, why some fractures are commonly missed. Okay. And part 2, I will share 4 fractures that you have to pay attention to. Okay. Along when you do your orthopedic posting, and also when you have become a medical officer or specialist. Because even though you do something else, other discipline, but sometimes you come across, let's say you have a trauma cases, even though you do your general surgery, or even emergency medicine, this patient will come to you, complain of pain anywhere in the limbs, that you have to pay attention to. If you miss this, you may miss the fracture and will be mismanaged along the way. Kesian kat patient. Right. So there are 3 reasons kenapa we miss fracture. There are 3 reasons why we miss fractures. First, the most important reason is you are not familiar with the anatomy. So anatomy, even though whatever posting you are doing, medical, orthopedic, general surgery, pediatric, even ONG, you cannot run away from anatomy. Bread and butter of medicine is anatomy. But maybe in orthopedic, maybe there's a lot more that you have to know. Maybe a bit more in details. And also in orthopedic, we have parameters. Parameters meaning for each joint or each tendon or bone, we have parameters that we have to know and we have to remember. So what I want to say about this, let's say you are not familiar with anatomy. If you have any suspicion, please call your orthopedic colleagues. Please refer. Okay, right. And number 2, inadequate clinical assessment. Okay, inadequate clinical assessment. So it is very important. Currently, in this current ages, the problem is we don't examine patient. Sometimes we do around by bedside only, looking at the computer only. We don't touch patient. That is very wrong. It's a big sin not to touch patient. You must always talk to patient. Talk to patient, touch our patient. The soft skills is very important. That's what our patient will remember us from our touch, from the way we talk to them. That's how they remember. Many doctors can treat, but they will remember us by how we treat them, how we talk to them. That's what they remember us from. And number 3, pediatric cases. Pediatric cases, we have problem with pediatric cases. Why? Because the bone are not fully formed yet. It's still in cartilaginous state. So again, if you're not sure, please call your orthopedic colleagues. Okay. So that's part 1. 3 main reasons. And now I'll go 4 regions in the body that I want to pay attention to. I hope all of you please bear with me. Okay. Right. So number one is spine, yeah, spine. Even for orthopedic team, spine is not it's not something that we like to have. Yeah, hopefully in all cases we try to avoid spine injury if possible. Yeah, even it's called first thing, if we have patient having a motor vehicle accident, you would like to rule out spine injury, right? Okay, so to rule out spine injury, to say it's impossible, it's not impossible, but sometimes it can be difficult, especially if patient have any other injuries. So we call distracting pain. So what you have to do, first of all, you need to apply your heart collar, and of course you have to examine the patient. Rule number one, usually if no tenderness, there's no fracture. Yeah, if no tenderness, there is no fracture. But if there is tenderness, you have to suspect fracture. You have to suspect fracture. Even though there is no fracture, maybe there is soft tissue injury. So by saying soft tissue injury, it can be from the ligaments, it can be from the disc, right? So you have to be careful. Yeah, you have to be careful. Spine is not something to play with, because if you miss spinal fractures, or spinal cord injury, you can cause paralysis. You can end up with paraplegic. All right. So there are four main lines that you have to pay attention to. That we have a mnemonic A, B, C, D, and S. A, alignment. Look at the alignment of the spinous process. Okay. So there are four lines. First, the anterior vertebral line. Along the anterior vertebral body. Posterior vertebral line, the spinolaminar line, and spinous process line. So this line should be in the straight line. There shouldn't be any disruption or any step off. So it should be in straight line. So if there is any disruption, you have to be extra careful. Number two, bone. Look at the bone. The bone usually segi empat tepat, kita panggil segi empat tepat. Segi empat sama is a square. So this one segi empat tepat. And then cartilage. Look at the cartilage, the disc, intervertebral disc. You cannot see the disc on X-ray, but you can see the intervertebral disc space. Some other whether the space is it's not equal in length, in the height, or maybe it should be equal in height. Okay, and finally, soft tissue. What do I mean by soft tissue? Okay, soft tissue. If you look at the X-ray on the lateral cervical X-ray on the left side, the soft tissue we have what we call the 6226 rule. This one I always repeat again and again. I believe my orthopedic colleagues will repeat the same thing. 2662. By what we mean by this? At C2 cervical vertebra, the normal soft tissue, anterior vertebral soft tissue, should be 6 millimeters. 6 millimeters. It shouldn't be more than that. And at C6 vertebra, it should be 2 centimeters. 2 centimeters in the length. If you measure, let's say you measure from the anterior soft tissue shadow here to the anterior vertebral shadow, it should be about 2 centimeters. All right. So if there is increase in soft tissue shadow or the size, there you have to suspect soft tissue injury or fractures underneath, right? All right. So okay, if you see this X-ray on the left hand side, is this normal or not? It's not normal, right? You may think this is normal, but then the alignment, if you see, is a straight, it's straight line. The normal alignment for cervical is, it should be in lordosis, right? Cervical lordosis. It should not be straight. Okay. So in this case, even though the soft tissue is it's not increased markedly, but there is loss of cervical lordosis. Okay. So you have to, maybe in this case, you have to keep the collar first. Once the patient is, you have to give adequate analgesic, and you have to reassess patient again. All right. Okay. Okay, this one is our thoracic vertebra, thoracic vertebra. Again, if you see on the left hand side, this X-ray here, The circle, if you can see the circle here, this is what we call the pedicle, the pedicle. Okay, this circle here. So each vertebra we have two pedicles, right? So the pedicle also should be in straight line. It should be in straight line, even though it's a bit divergent. Divergent from cervical to your lumbar vertebra. Is the angle, it should be slightly divergent. All right. So it's very important to identify the pedicles of the vertebra. Why? Because in case there is a fracture, yeah, we want to differentiate between compression fracture and also a burst fracture. Yeah. So I will go after this about a bit more detail about that. Yeah. Okay. Again, if you see on this lateral view, you should anticipate or you should expect to see a normal, yeah, thoracic kyphosis and lumbar lordosis. So if you see the picture on the far right here, the color here, it should be angulated like this. Yeah, it's not a straight. If it's straight, then it's not normal. Okay. Okay. If you see this X-ray on the left hand side again, there is a slight scoliosis. Slight scoliosis. So it's not a straight line. Okay. So X-ray on the right hand side, is it normal? It's not normal. Yeah, it's not normal. You may say it's normal, but it's not. Yeah, there is a loss of lumbar lordosis in this case. Yeah, so loss of lumbar lordosis usually signify muscle spasm. Yeah, when you have muscle spasm, it can be from the muscle, it can be from the fracture. It could be from any pathological process underneath. So you have to rule out the pathological process. If you have already ruled out of the fractures or more sinister injury, then maybe there is just a muscle spasm. Then you have to, give adequate analgesic, let the patient rest, yeah, and usually the pain will go away in a few days' time, yeah. Right. Okay. What can you see on this X-ray? Okay. Okay, the X-ray on the left-hand side. Can you see any abnormality? There is a normal lumbar lordosis, but then there is, you can see L4 here. So L4 here, there is a loss of vertebral height, the vertebral body's height. There's a fracture here. So this is L4 vertebral body fracture, right? L4 fracture. So L4. So when we have a vertebral body fracture like this, there are usually three types of fracture that we want to rule out. Yeah, whether it's a compression fracture, a burst fracture, or one more thing is it's a chance fracture. Yeah. So the difference between compression, burst, and also chance are mainly the involvement of column. Yeah. So column, let's say we talk about column of the vertebra, we can divide into anterior column, middle column, and posterior column. So if you see from this diagram on the right hand side, we divide into color. Yeah. So the yellow color is the anterior column, the middle column is the green color, and the posterior column we give a blue color. So if it involves two columns, like in this X-ray here, we say this is a burst fracture. Okay, burst fracture. Why? Because if compression fracture, it only involves anterior column. Okay, so there's so much difference between the management of compression and burst fracture. If you were given option, please choose compression fracture. Why? Because compression fracture is usually a stable fracture. It's not associated with neurological deficit. It can be treated conservatively. Yeah. Burst fracture usually it can be associated with neurological deficit. Yeah. Sometimes it is unstable. Maybe you need surgery. So usually it depends on the type of injury that you had. Yeah. And chance fracture, if it involves all the three columns. So chance fracture, in almost all cases, you have neurological deficit. And usually, in most cases, usually it's unstable and you need surgery to stabilize your spine. Okay. All right. So that's the difference between compression, burst, and chance fracture. There are many more, but there's I think the basic knowledge that houseman need to know. All right. Okay. Okay, now last X-ray of the spine. Last X-ray of the spine. Again, what's so marked on this X-ray? The quality of the bone. right? The quality of the bone. Okay, if you see this X-ray here, the bone is so osteopenic. It's very osteopenic. Yeah, it's very thin. Very thin. So you can see the edges. It's very thin cortex. Yeah, and there is a fracture here. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, you can count. Usually you can count from the rib. Yeah, the rib your T12. So L1 and L2. So L2 it involves two columns, usually burst fracture, we call burst fracture, but in this case, because it's osteoporotic bone, we say it is an osteoporotic fracture. So the diagnosis is osteoporotic fracture of L2. So osteoporotic fracture of L2. If there is a fracture in osteoporotic bone, we say there is a severe osteoporosis. Yeah, severe osteoporosis. So what do you want to do with this case? Okay, so you have to work out for osteoporosis. Yeah, you may need to want to see the calcium level. Yeah, and you may want to start anti-osteoclastic agent. Yeah, you have to see. And the fracture, in some cases you can treat conservatively. In most cases in Malaysia we treat conservatively, especially if there is no neurological deficit. Yeah, this is the same fracture. The AP view, we can see the scoliosis. Yeah, scoliosis. Yeah, in elderly cases with degenerative changes, we say there is a de novo scoliosis. Yeah, degenerative scoliosis. Right. So that's about the spine. So again, spine, what's important, you have to remember the lines, the 4 lines of the spine, remember the vertebral body height, remember the pedicles, and remember the column, the 3 column, anterior, middle, and posterior column. So that's about it. Just if you can remember all this, you should be able to be a safe doctor. Yeah, should be, inshallah. Yeah. Okay, now number 2. Okay, yeah, number 2. I'm given 1 hour. Okay, right. So number 2 is the supracondylar fracture of the humerus in children. In adult, we don't have problem. In children, we have some issues. Why? Because this fracture is common. Usually, especially in PKP now, yeah, cuti sekolah, yeah, school holidays, yeah, the kids are playing around, playing at home. You may have fractures. It's quite common to have fractures. Yeah? When they fall, they have fractures. It's quite common to have fractures over the elbow, supracondylar humerus fracture in children. The issues you may miss. Why? Because sometimes the ossification, the bone ossification centers, it's not fully formed yet. It's still in cartilaginous state. You see here, if you see the table on the left hand side, there's an age of the fracture, the bone, the cartilage start to ossify. Right? Ossify means start to become bone, appear on X-ray. So it's not difficult to remember. You remember Crito, or some surgeon or doctors may suggest Crimtol. Yeah, Crimtol meaning you change the internal to medial epicondyle, I, E into L, L, lateral epicondyle. Yeah, so either internal epicondyle or medial epicondyle, external epicondyle, or lateral epicondyle. So, or you can remember Crito also, okay, yeah. So the is 1, 3, 5, 7, 6, and 11 years. So that's every 2 years, the next bone will start to ossify. Okay. So if you see on the right hand side, you see, if you can see this one, the capitulum, the circle here, yeah. This one is the capitulum, and you see the internal epicondyle is already formed here. So when internal epicondyle already formed, you know the child is about 5 years old, yeah. So this child is 6 years old, yeah. So the trochlea is still not formed yet, yeah. Trochlea is still not formed yet. Again, as an example, let's say you have a 11-year-old boy. So 11-year-old, what do you expect to see? So you expect to see all the ossification centers already ossify. You should be able to see all the ossification center. So if you do X-ray of this case, you can see, the olecranon ossification center already ossified. Yeah. So this one is quite obvious. So if fracture like this, you won't miss. You know there's a fracture there, right? So the problem is you have, if let's say you have fracture like this, yeah, a fracture like X-ray on the right hand side, yeah, it's not displaced. So the fracture is not displaced. If you don't examine patient, yeah, you don't talk to patient or you don't talk to the parents, and you don't look hard on X-ray, you will miss this fracture. Yeah. So there's a fracture line there. Yeah. There's a fracture line over here. And there is a fracture line on the AP view as well. But then if you not used to look at this X-ray, you will miss it. Yeah. So for X-ray of the supracondylar humerus, especially in undisplaced fracture, you have to remember there are a few things. So these things usually you remember during your orthopedic posting, but after you finish your orthopedic posting, sometimes you forget this. But then again, please examine your patient. If patient complain of pain over the elbow, if there is swelling, please suspect fracture. Please call your orthopedic colleague. So if you see the X-ray on the lateral hand side, left hand side here, is what we call the anterior fat pad. Anterior fat pad. Okay, anterior fat pad can be normal. So anterior fat pad can be normal. Yeah, because fat. We have fat. But if you have a posterior fat pad, if you see X-ray on the right hand side here, this one is posterior fat pad. Posterior fat pad is pathological. It's not normal. So if you have posterior fat pad, meaning there is a fracture over that area. Why? Because there is elevation of the periosteum. There will be a fracture. There you have bleeding. You have bleeding underneath. The blood will, or the hematoma will push your periosteum. So you have a fat elevation. So that's why you can see the fat shadow. Right. So posterior fat pad, look hard for your posterior fat pad. Yeah. That's one thing. Number two, your radial, your radius, should always point toward your capitulum. This is your capitulum. The small rounded thing here is your capitulum. So your radial head should always points toward your capitulum. So if it points away or anywhere else except your capitulum, so there is a radial head dislocation. So please. So and another thing is the anterior humeral line. If you draw your straight line along the border of your anterior humerus, it should transect over your capitulum. So these three things, please remember all these three things. If you cannot remember something, anything else for your elbow, one, your posterior fat pad, two, your radial head, and three, your anterior humeral line. So these three uh, 3 points. 3 points. Please remember these 3 points. Okay. I won't mention about the teardrop, fistulas one. Nothing, no need lah. If you remember these 3 points, pun it's good. Okay. Right. Okay. Fracture radius. Fracture radius. This one is it's interesting also. Because it's common. It's common. So I only share what are commonly encountered fractures tonight. Okay, so that when you come, you finish your housemanship, you go to your clinic kesihatan. Inshallah, if you have fracture like this, after this can be very confident. And you can share with your friends. Oh, this is a anterior humeral line, or this one is the anterior vertebral column. Okay, right. So hopefully tonight you can take away some points. Inshallah. Okay, this one is 12-year-old boy, fall from motorbike. What is fush? Fush, fall on outstretched hand. Fall on outstretched hand. Okay, so if you see, commonly happen fracture in wrist, usually is distal and radius fracture. Distal and radius fracture. Another problem, again, ossification center, usually the bone not fully formed yet in children. So if you see how many bones do we have over your carpal area, your wrist, you have 8. 8 bones. Please don't say 7. Then you become alien, tak normal. So we have 8. 7 tarsal bone, 8 carpal bones. Okay, jangan terbalik pula. Okay, so 8 carpal bone. Okay, ni mnemonic semua ingat kan? She looks too pretty, try to catch her. Okay, so yang ni, or you can design your own or create your own mnemonic. Tapi the universal mnemonic yang tu lah. Okay, so please remember the first ossified carpal bones is the biggest. Number one is your capitate. Capitate means captain. The captain of your carpal bones. Capitate. So number 2, this one. Hamate. Hamate. This one. So capitate and hemate are the two earliest ossified carpal bone. Yeah. Okay, please remember. All right. So this one is the growth plate. Yeah, Salter Harris fracture. So for Salter Harris fracture, the most common Salter Harris type 2. Yeah, Salter Harris type 2. So please remember, don't remember above or below. Yeah, this one the normal mnemonic, the share above, below, yeah, straight across. This one the easiest way to remember. But then again, the above for your wrist is not similar above for your distal femur or proximal tibia. It's not the same. Yeah. So I would prefer if you can remember if the fracture, let's say Salter Harris 2, it involves the physis and the metaphysis. Okay. If it involve physis and the epiphysis, is Salter Harris 3. Yeah. Type 3. Okay. So Salter Harris usually fracture for children is Salter Harris fracture. So please remember this. Yeah. So if you see the picture, the X-ray here, AP view. That's why very important to do two views. Yeah? You know, sometimes I do my X-ray class. Usually, yeah. Now I've not been doing for the past 3 months. X-ray class, the first maybe 10 or 15 slides are the basic of looking at X-rays. Yeah. What are the basics of looking at X-rays? Yeah? One of the basics is you need to have two views. Yeah? Always have two views. Yeah? AP and lateral views. You cannot have AP view only. It's wrong. Let's say you only have AP view, you have to repeat lateral view. Why? If you see in this photo here, you may miss this fracture on the AP view. Yeah. But then if you see on the lateral view, definitely there is a displacement of the fracture, right? So the fracture is a Salter Harris fracture. Yeah? The distal fragment is displaced dorsally. Yeah. So that's why it's it's compulsory to do two views. Yeah. Two views, two sides, two event. Yeah. There are two bones. Yeah. Two joints. Okay. So this one AP and lateral view. Okay. Very important. Yeah. Okay. This is a similar X-ray. Yeah. Right. And again, if you have to examine your patient, if let's say the patient is having tender, having pain, complaint of pain and tenderness over the wrist joint, please be extra careful. Maybe there's a carpal bone fracture as well, or maybe dislocation. Yeah? So please be careful. Yeah. All right. So this one in let's say adults, where the bone already ossified, yeah, the physis already closed. Then this rule will apply, the 7-11 rules. 7-11. So we don't only have a 7-11 shop, we have 7-11 rules. So easy to remember. By 7-11, but I mean by 7-11. So if you see, there are three main parameters you have to remember. If we are talking about wrist X-ray, there are three parameters that we have to know. Yeah, one is the radial height. Yeah, every time that say you see a fracture, let's say you want to do a CMR, yeah, nak tarik, nak pasang simin, you want to apply POP, plaster of Paris. So every time you do CMR, to check X-ray, you have to look at these three parameters, yeah, on AP and lateral view. So AP view, look at the radial height, yeah, radial height, the red color here, the height, yeah, from the base of the radius to the tip of the radius styloid, it should be about 10 to 11 millimeters. 10 to 14 millimeters. So I take average about 11. Yeah, senang nak ingat lah, 11 millimeters. Yeah. And again, one more thing is the angle here, the inclination. Yeah, from the base to the tip. If you measure this angle here, it should be about 22 degrees. Yeah, 22 degrees. And on the lateral view, there's an anterior inclination. Yeah, anterior inclination meaning the angle of your the angle of the cup of the wrist joint, it should point slightly downward. Yeah? You face your floor volally about 7 degree. It's not, or the least that you can set is straight. You should face straight like that. Yeah, horizontal. So if the cup of the lunate points or the joint points dorsally, meaning it's not acceptable. So you have to you have to redo again your CMR, or maybe you have to plan for a surgery, yeah, to have a normal fracture reduction. Yeah, what's the problem if you don't do a proper reduction? This patient will have disruption of the mechanics of the wrist. Yeah, patient may not die, but patient will have morbidity. Yeah, patient will have pain. Yeah. Let's say he's 20 years old, he will live for another 50 years. You have pain over morbidity over the wrist for the next 50 years. Yeah? That he cannot work. He keep complaining of pain, and the wrist will becomes you get osteoarthritis, yeah? Post-traumatic osteoarthritis, and he keep coming to you. He keep coming to you. So it's very important. That's why orthopedic is not. Some people may say it's simple, but then it will affect your life. Yeah. So please pay attention and be serious about getting this fracture reduced properly. Okay. All right. Okay. If you have fracture like this, it's not difficult. You know why? Because you won't miss this. Yeah. You can see the fracture here, and you won't miss. Yeah. You know, there's a fracture over the distal, maybe distal end of or distal third of the right radius here. Yeah. So with it's angulated dorsally. It's very obvious. So you won't miss this, even though on AP view, you may say, oh, it's okay. No, fracture is not displaced. Yeah. Or you can accept this. But if you see lateral view, this one is not acceptable. Right? Maybe you need to do the CMR again. Yeah. Or even this one, you won't miss this, right? You won't miss this. It's very obvious. If you miss this, you have to send you back to medical school. You have to send you back to medical school, or maybe attachment in hospital Kemaman with me, right? Okay. But let's say you have fracture like this. You have fracture like this. You may miss this, yeah. It's just a line there, yeah. So if you see, if you look at, sekali imbas, you just just scan through like that, you will miss this. Yeah. If you don't examine the patient, you will miss this. If you don't talk to your patient, you will miss this. So again, back to basic. Yeah. Talk to patient, take proper history, do proper examination, and only then you do imaging. You don't go straight away to imaging. Yeah. You don't go straight away to imaging. Okay. If you see just sekali imbas, just scanning only, you will miss this fracture here. Yeah, there's a buckle here, buckling. Yeah, so the term is buckling. So we call this torus fracture. Yeah, so this lateral view more obvious compared to AP view. So again, same thing. Yeah, again, please talk to your patient, examine your patient. Yeah, be a good doctor. Yeah, jangan buat kerja cincai. Ya, kerja cincai ni it's never good. You dah jadi specialist pun tak bagus. Ya, sebab memang you have to do properly. Ya, you have to touch the patient, examine the patient. It doesn't matter in which discipline you are working in. If you don't talk to your patient or touch your patient, examine patient, you are not a good doctor. Yeah, you are not a good doctor. Okay, final. Yeah, cepat pula. 35 minutes only. Yeah, okay. All right.
Okay,
So
we have questions after, so keep going.
oh no.
I bet there'll be a few questions. So
No problem. Okay. All right. So ankle is a bit more difficult compared to the rest. Why? Because easily missed also. Yeah, we have many ligaments over the ankle. We have many ligaments. Yeah, and you cannot see the ligaments on the X-ray. Yeah. So what you can see is the parameters over the ankle. Yeah. So on the AP view, we expect to see the tibia fibula overlap, usually about 1 centimeter or 10 millimeters, or the tibiofibula, the clear space. Yeah, it should be less than 5 millimeters. So if we have more than 5 millimeters, meaning the ankle is open up. Yeah, if you see the X-ray on the lower end here, the red color, the overlap, it should be about 10 millimeters, and the clear space should be about 5 millimeters. So if we have a disruption in these parameters, maybe, yeah, you have to have suspicion that maybe there is a disruption of the syndesmotic ligament. Yeah. So syndesmotic ligament, usually what it do is stabilize your ankle. It keeps your tibia and fibula intact. Yeah. So every time we walk, your ankle won't open up. Yeah. It stabilize. Yeah. It will stable. Okay. All right. So is this X-ray of the adult or pediatric? So this is a pediatric X-ray. Yeah, pediatric X-ray. Why do I say this pediatric X-ray? Because there is a growth plate. Yeah, we can see a growth plate here. So don't say this a growth plate. So lateral view, if you see there is a growth plate over the distal tibia, yeah, ankle joint, and it goes up, yeah, into the metaphysis. So this is a fracture, Salter-Harris type 2, distal end of the tibia, yeah. And if you see closely, there is also fracture line over the lateral malleolus, yeah, over the fibula, lateral malleolus. Very thin line going up, yeah. So if you see on AP view, you cannot see, yeah, you cannot see the line on the fibula. So that's why, again, you need two views, AP and lateral. Yeah. So the fracture may not appear on the AP view, but it may appear on the lateral view. If you see on this X-ray, the fracture of the distal tibia, there is a break at the middle here involving the epiphysis. So you have fracture involving the epiphysis, meaning it's Salter-Harris type 3 on the AP view and Salter-Harris type 2 on the lateral view. So this one we call a triplanar fracture. Yeah, it's a triplanar fracture. It involves three planes. Yeah, very interesting, and it's not that common. So again, the principle is to get a proper reduction of the physis, of the growth plate. If you don't do properly, it will unite. Okay, fracture will unite, especially in children. But then what happens? You have malunited fracture in children is even worse. Yeah, the bone will grow. You will have angulation. You will have deformity. You have limb length discrepancy. You have chronic pain. Yeah, the child is only 5 years old, maybe 6 years old, and let's say you get sued. They will count until from the age of the problem until the child, the expected age of the child, and you have to pay lah, tak tahu lah how much. So please, it's not something to play with. Please make sure you're familiar with the growth plate. Right. Kalau tak sure, please ask your friends. Okay. Okay, again, this one I dah go through tadi, the growth plate over the ankle. Again, Salter-Harris classification. I don't think I shared too many tonight. Just a few things. This is the conclusion of my talk. Yeah. So I talk about the spine. I talk about the wrist joint, ankle, and over the elbow, supracondylar-humerus. So only 4 regions that I share with you tonight. But then very important regions, very commonly encountered injuries, and commonly missed by us. Yeah, not just Houseman. Houseman will help. Yeah, usually the medical officer that are the one who should examine the patient. Yeah, Houseman will see first, but then should be counted, examined by medical officers. Yeah, if you're not sure, please consult your orthopedic colleagues. Please call your specialist. Yeah. So as a conclusion, know your anatomy. Yeah, know your anatomy. Doesn't matter where you are, in which discipline you are, orthopedic, yeah, general surgery, general medicine, pediatric, ONG, emergency medicine. You cannot run away from anatomy. Yeah, it's bread and butter of our even anesthesia. Yeah, yeah. You cannot run away from anatomy. Yeah, even in non-surgical based posting, you need to know your anatomy. Yeah, if you want to do any procedures, you need to do your anatomy. Right. And number 2, always examine your patient. Yeah, always examine your patient. It's a big sin. Again, I say it's a big sin if you don't examine your patient. Yeah. By examining the patient, you have suspicion, you know if there is if something is wrong anywhere, somewhere, yeah. Without touching patient, you just guessing in the dark, right? And number 3, for orthopedic, yeah, if there is no tenderness, usually there is no fracture. But if there is tenderness, by saying tenderness means pain on palpation, yeah. So if it's tender, should be mindful of fracture. Maybe there's a fracture. Okay. So look hard. Look hard. Do imaging. Yeah. Examine. Okay. Okay. This my final slide. Dr. Is say please scan this bar QR code, yeah, untuk your CPD point, yeah, attendance. So you can find me in my Twitter, yeah, MedTweetMy, yeah. And also I do write in some articles in Malaysia Medical Gazette, yeah. Okay, that's all, Dr. Is. If there is any question, I open to the floor.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ma. Oh, it's very good talk lah. Actually, what I want to elaborate is what Mr. Ma just say. Many
Yeah.
times in his talk, not about the talk about the fracture, but about refer patient when you don't know, and then examine patient properly. This is very important. No, Mr. Ma keep on saying the same word. Jangan malas. You have to actually examine properly. If not, you won't get the diagnosis, which is very true, Mr. Ma. And
Yeah.
then and also if you have tenderness at the bone area, always suspect maybe there's a fracture lah. So my question, Mr. Ma, this is my question lah. Just want to know if sometimes you're being diagnosed to have soft tissue injury, and then we did the X-ray, we didn't see any fracture. So actually, how long actually we need to make the patient to come back to see us if the pain is persistent? Is there any time gap that we can tell the patient bila boleh datang?
Okay, soft tissue injury, if by theory, usually it will heal by 6 weeks.
Okay.
6 weeks. But then we see what type of soft tissue injury. Let's say you don't think it's serious, you may give 6 weeks. But then if you have any suspicion, let's say in children, you don't see any fracture on X-ray, but then patient keep complaining of pain, you may give 2 weeks.
Okay.
2 weeks. You know why? Because let's say children less than 2 years old, even at 2 weeks, you may see some soft callus formation. So soft callus formation. Let's say that child have a wrist pain, yeah, for playing and then have wrist pain. Maybe what I'll advocate is just immobilize the part, immobilize the limb by maybe a full line back slap. You don't have to apply a POP, a cast, just back slap and arm sling. So the child will rest, and after 2 weeks, come again and reassess. Yeah, maybe you need to do X-ray. So in children, sometimes you cannot see. Sometimes Sotter Harris type 1, it's just a fracture over the growth plate. So you cannot see fracture. So, but if it's tender, you should be suspicious. So you can say your diagnosis is maybe soft tissue injury to rule out Sotter Harris type 1 fracture. So come again in 2 weeks time, do X-ray and reassess.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Now we go to the question by the participant, Mr. Ma. One is from Izzat Husaini. Dr. Ma, macam mana nak bezakan stable and unstable compression fracture and also in burst fracture? Stable versus unstable. Thanks.
Okay. This one usually they ask a master student ni untuk final exam. Okay. Biasanya untuk Osman kita tak tanya soalan ni, ya. Tapi kalau stable and unstable fracture, kita ada kriteria. Kriteria for determine whether it's stable or unstable, and criteria whether patient will need surgery or not. Okay. I think I give a general rule, yeah, general rule untuk Osman supaya tahu. General rule dia, compression fracture usually involve anterior column only. Okay. Burst fracture, 2 columns. Okay, 2 columns, anterior and middle column. If it involve posterior column, maksudnya it's already unstable. Kalau middle column and posterior column pun unstable. The only stable fracture is anterior column je, compression fracture. Okay. Kalau burst fracture, selain daripada involving middle column, you can see on AP view, usually there is, tadi I mention about pedicle kan, yang bulat-bulat tu, pedicle tu. So let's say you measure the pedicle one level above and below, kalau dia ada vertebra yang pathological tu, dia punya pedicle tu widen, kita panggil increase in interpedicular space, meaning there is a burst fracture. Ya, kalau compression fracture usually the pedicle in straight line lagi. Okay. Okay, lagi satu, kalau when we say it's unstable if there is a neurological deficit. Bila ada je neurological deficit, kita cakap unstable, terus unstable. So that's why again kena examine ya, kena buat. Contoh another examination is PR, per rectal examination. So spine examination is not complete without per rectal examination. You cannot stop the power, motor and sensation, power, motor, sensory, autonomic, reflexes, tone, semua tu. But then PR is part of spine examination. Kena buat PR. No shortcut. Apa lagi? Itu je lah. Kalau other than that, kalau nak kata burst, mungkin translation. Kalau nak kata tak stable, let's say you have translation of your, kita punya alignment tu dah lari, ada translation, then it's unstable lah. So bila unstable, usually kalau what I'll do, kalau pemahaman ni kita buat CT scan lah. Sebab apa? Sebab kalau nak buat MRI satu susah. MRI ni kita tak ada satu. Yang keduanya, if MRI to see spine, spinal cord, spinal cord, and also the disc, intervertebral disc lah. So kalau ada compression, ada spinal cord injury, you need MRI. So it will take some time lah. Mungkin kita arrange lah. Right.
Okay, faham. Okay,
next question. Dah sufficient dah untuk Osman lah.
Okay, ni question next ni from ni lah, from non-medical I think, from Facebook Mr. Ma. Assalamualaikum doktor, saya nak tanya, saya accident di kaki, MRI tunjuk ligamen putus, lutut putus. Adakah boleh operation? Oh,
ni bukan fracture ni. Okay. Okay, this one quite common quite common. Knee injury ligament. Boleh tengok kat saya punya YouTube pun ada, dekat saya punya Malaysia Medical Gazette pun ada. Usually knee ligaments, there are 4 main ligaments, tapi kalau you go in details there are 5 lah. 5 So kalau in sport injury, you have anterior cruciate ligament lah, ACL kan. Kita pun ramai yang ada ACL injury main bola ni musim Euro ni, main bola sepak ACL So kalau ACL, soalan tu it's not easy to answer, tapi jawab macam tu je. You have to examine, kena check. And also apa you punya expectation. What is your expectation? Kalau ACL, macam kita cakap ACL tak boleh sembuh, it cannot heal. You need to do surgery. If you want to go back to sport, you have to do surgery. If you want to avoid a long-term chronic pain, lutut tak nak rosak lutut, you have to do surgery. Kalau let's say you dah umur 50, 60 and you tak nak main sangat dah, then you, kalau just ACL only, you don't have to do operation pun. Depends lah, kena bincang. Tapi dia punya rule dia, kalau you have ligament injury of the knee, kalau you nak fix, memang kena buat operation. Dia tak boleh heal, ngurut tak boleh baik. Ngurut tak boleh baik, sapu minyak dia pun tak boleh baik. Physio just for temporary relief untuk strengthen your knee, yes. But then untuk stabilize your knee, no, tak boleh lah. Memang you need to see your doctor lah, kena examine and make sure apa proper diagnosis lah. I tak tahu you punya ligament tu single ligament ke, multi ligament ke, macam tu lah.
Okay, next question from ni Dr. Laila Salim. Mr. Mahyudin, we know that it's not easy to detect fracture over the area of over the hand area. Let's say we subsequently suspect fracture with poor healing months after the initial incident. Can it still be treated? Thank you.
Okay, actually boleh, depends lah. Kalau let's say you have a fracture over the distal radius contohnya, and the fracture will unite kalau in adult about 3 to 4 months time lah. Let's say patient datang dah malunion, dah bengkok dah tangan dia. You boleh betulkan, we say it's corrective osteotomy, kita betulkan balik. Patient have to go through surgery, you can put implant in, correct the deformity and put a bone graft and plate, boleh betulkan. So again, the question is you have to talk to patient lah. Patient nak go through tak that process. Kalau patient expectation muda lagi, dia nak kerja lagi, ya, dia tak nak, dia willing nak do the surgery, then we can do. Kita kena explain kat patient lah what the risk involved. The operation would be a bigger surgery, it involve bleeding, yeah, maybe a longer surgery. There's a risk of non-union juga. Nah, itulah. And then kalau ada some fractures, maybe you can't do anything. Lagi more difficult. Contohnya, let's say you miss a carpal bone fracture contohnya. Yeah, and they end up, you nampak detect, dia end up sampai dah jadi arthritis. The joint dah arthritis. Then patient end up with chronic pain of the wrist. Maybe you boleh buat fusion, tapi fusion of the joint lah, tapi dia akan dapat mobility lah, joint tu keras lah pula, tak gerak. So mungkin tak ada sakit, tapi dia comes with another mobility. So kena bincang dengan patient lah. Memang ada option, ya, sebenarnya untuk banyak benda ada option. Ada benda tak boleh nak buat, kita ada limitation kita. Tak apalah, you have to talk to patient lah, ya. Ada some things, depends on the fracture lah. Banyak benda, kita banyak option lah boleh buat.
Okay. Next question from Ahmad Faizal Abdul lah. Assalamualaikum Mr. Mah. Can you enlighten us about plastic deformation? Oh, saya pun tak pernah dengar ni.
Oh, plastic deformation lah. Plastic deformation ni usually happen in children. In children, it won't happen in adult. Sebab apa? Because in children the bone is, kita panggil ada plasticity, ya. Plasticity, dia punya characteristic of pediatric bone. Dia boleh bend. Maksudnya dia instead of fracture, dia jadi bend, dia jadi deform, dia bengkok. Okay. Sebab apa? Because the periosteum is very thick. The periosteum of the bone is very thick, so dia tak patah. So plastic deformation. So plastic deformation, contoh over the radius ulna, dia jadi bengkok. Bengkok, dia tak patah pun bengkok. So kalau the angulation is very obvious, I would suggest to correct the deformation lah. Kena treat as macam fracture jugalah. Kalau it's very minimal, sometimes maybe just immobilize je, you don't need CMR, maybe just pasang bed slab, because we have what we call remodeling kan, So the bone will correct itself lah. So plastic deformation only occur in children because of the presence of periosteum, the thick periosteum. Tu jawapan dia.
Okay. Next one.
Banyak soalan ni.
Banyak. Tak apa, kita banyak masa, Mr. Mah.
Oh.
The next question from Lee, tapi saya pun tak faham apa term dia. Mr. Mah, if a lady has FOOSH and gets incomplete fracture over distal wrist without displacement, can patient go for conservative management? Thank you. Okay,
FOOH tadi yang sebut fall on outstretched hand tu, jatuh dia
macam okay.
Fall on outstretched hand. So whatever fall, jatuh macam mana pun, they say you have a fracture. Nak treat konservatif ke nak treat tradisional? Dia nak tradisional ke konservatif? Jawab soalan dia apa? Soalan dia tradisional ke konservatif?
Konservatif.
Oh, konservatif boleh lah. Kalau fracture tak displace, boleh je konservatif. Tak ada masalah. But in most cases, kita conservative treatment. Kita our kita punya primary conservative. Kita a good surgeon is the one who knows when not to operate. It's not the one yang operate. Operate ada risk, anesthetic risk, surgical risk, banyak risk kan. So and risk and some usually you have complication. So kita nak prevent complication. So if you can avoid surgery, you avoid surgery. Kita memang treat konservatif. Unnecessarily kita jangan buat operation.
Okay. So next question from Gad Carter. Salam Mr. Mah. Knee ligament injury, lepas repair boleh lari macam biasa tak untuk runner? Ataupun risk yang arthritis? Thank you for the sharing.
Oh, ni soalan, orang suka soalan tanya lutut ni, soalan ligament. Okay, kalau dia macam ni, boleh. Sebab kalau tak boleh, sebab apa kita buat operation? Kita buat operation tu nak suruh boleh lari balik lah, boleh lari balik, boleh main bola balik, boleh main hoki balik kan. That's why kita buat surgery. So kita buat surgery so that you can go back to your activity, your normal activity. So how long will it take? So normally kalau kita normal people ni, it will take about 9 months untuk go back to sports. Dia ada rehabilitation process lah panjang ya. Kalau professional sometimes 6 months, 4 to 6 months pun you can go back to sport dah. Baru ni I tengok game cerita pemain Itali siapa nama yang dah lama dah, tapi dia dapat ACL injury, dia cepat je, I think 4 months before Tokyo punya Piala Dunia 1998 kot, apa nama, apa main tu I tak ingat, movie. So memang cepat, dia punya rehab punya regime tu very fast macam extensive regime lah. Tapi kalau kita punya normal regime untuk normal people, usually about 9 months lah, 9 months. Kalau untuk sprinter, runner, kalau ACL biasanya kita in most cases biasa kita pakai hamstring graft. Tapi kalau untuk runner mungkin kita would suggest pakai, kita panggil autologous graft lah, macam kita ambil cadaver. Sebab kalau kita pakai hamstring takut kita affect dia punya sprinting yang nak lari mula tu. Depends So I pun pernah buat ligament injury ni, my own. Tapi I PCL lah. Tapi itulah, proses panjang. Kalau any one of you yang dengar this talk nak buat operation knee injury, knee ligaments, please talk properly to pakar. You have to know your rehabilitation process tu, sebab proses tu panjang. Dia bukan, it doesn't end with surgery. Kalau you buat surgery and then you expect you nak dapat full recovery je, is wrong. I pernah dapat patient yang lepas surgery dia tak buat physio, jam terus lutut, kena masuk operasi, buat manipulation under general anesthesia pula sebab dia tak nak buat physio. So memang tak boleh, memang you have to be strong, you have to be committed untuk buat rehab.
Okay, thank you very much Mr. Mah. I think that's all from me. I will give back the floor to Dr. Hafsah.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Is, and thank you, Mr. Mahyudin. We're really privileged to have you delivering the first talk on orthopedic topic. And I think this is actually beneficial for all, especially in the healthcare practitioners in emergency department and perhaps in primary care as well, just to help them to identify fractures and not to miss it. I would like to stress the importance of examining the patient, taking a good history and performing a good physical examination, because most of the time we actually get the diagnosis by just getting a good history and performing a proper medical examination. We mustn't depend on scans and imaging to diagnose patients. It reminds me of the days when I was back in as an intern doctor and as an emergency department senior health officer. But I think this is beneficial for all, and for your information, this is actually it will be on Facebook on MedTreat Minds page on video. So if you've missed the earlier part of the talk, don't worry, it will be there and you can revise from time to time. I would like to thank you again, Mr. Ma, and welcome, and also to have you maybe back on the second session, maybe sometime in the next few weeks, if
Inshallah,
you can. And to those of you who are listening, maybe you can drop a message on Facebook, my page, to give your opinion on what's the best topic for us to deliver next time. And don't forget to register online for the CPD points. We have given the QR code and also the Google form for you to register CPD. I would like to express my appreciation for my team as well, Dr. Norman, for the technical difficulties we encountered earlier. That's resolved. Dr. Is, Dr. Rafida, and everyone for supporting, and Dr. Aimi Rahayu, who has been uploading the videos on our YouTube channel. So, Mr. Ma, thank you so much, and have a good rest this evening. Thank you, everyone. Assalamualaikum. Take care.
Waalaikumsalam. Terima kasih semua.